Good morning and welcome to the Tualatin Historical Society members. This is Ross Baker, President of the Tualatin Historical Society. We have some very special guests with us here today, and we're going to be talking to them about the traditions and customs that they have during their holiday periods. And Larry McClure will be leading that conversation, and we're going to get started on that right now.
Well, good morning and Merry Christmas from Tualatin to everyone in our city and around the world. If you happen to know about this program today, here I am this morning with my ugly Christmas sweater, a USA tradition, and also my coffee cup with Santa. Many of us in Tualatin will be celebrating the Santa Claus Christmas, but also another kind of Christmas depending on our heritage and our ethnic and religious backgrounds, and we're going to have the chance to hear some of those stories today. So let me first introduce Michelle Palma Sotelo from Mexico, who lives here in Tualatin as a student at George Fox University. And Michelle was born in the USA. Is that true, Michelle?
That is correct.
But her parents came from, is it Guerrero?
Yes, Guerrero.
The state of Guerrero. So tell us more about your own family traditions as you remember them and as you saw them, if you went home again sometime in Mexico. And just tell us.
Oh, sorry. So I actually have a presentation, so I was wondering if I could screen share with you guys.
Oh, that would be sure. Let me fire it up. That's fantastic. You should be able to share now.
I see it.
Okay, great. So, like you said, my parents are from Mexico, Guerrero. I have been there. So a little bit, I'm gonna have to move you guys on my side. You guys don't know this, but you're covering my presentation.
That's quite the presentation.
Yeah, that's your issue. We can see it fine.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So, like I said, they're from Tenexpa Guerrero, or particularly my mom's side, and it's a tropical location. It's a small town. It's a pueblo, and it's, as you can see, like maybe a mile long. So I'm just gonna show you what it looks like in comparison to Mexico and the United States.
Wow.
Very small, yes.
Where we're at, and it's really, really tropical, and it's really community based. And this is what it looks like. Palm trees everywhere. My last name is Palma, so that means palm trees. And we're super close to the water. Houses over to the left side where you see the water. There is houses there, just standing halfway on the water, halfway on land. So keep in mind that when it's winter in Oregon, it's summer in the next spot. We only have summer and rain because it's a tropical location. So we celebrate the Day of the Virgin Mary, Christmas, New Year's, the El Día de los Reyes, which is the Day of the Three Kings. We celebrate the Rosca, and then the Rosca is on February 2nd. And I'm going to go a little bit more into that in a second. So El Día de la Virgen, the Day of the Virgin Mary. On the first day, which is on the 11th, oh, why did that escape? I have it on the other slide. December 11th and 12th. So we eat on the first day, we eat typically a lot of foods. So pozole, tamales, empanadas. And then the second day, it's going to be atoles, ponche, which is punch, jicama, nuts, mandarins. We do prayers for La Virgen de Guadalupe. We light candles. We go to neighbors' houses and we eat with them. And a lot of the times it's children singing and doing chants to the Virgen de Guadalupe. And it goes till all day or all night till dawn. So it's a wonderful celebration, and it's really community based. So, and then Christmas and New Year's in our community is basically the same. It's not a huge deal for us. We have food together, we party, we have a huge town celebration because it is community based. It's the town celebrating. We drink, and then if you get really drunk, you party all night long. Go straight to the beach. You don't sleep. You go straight to the beach and sleep there. And there's food ready for you guys at the beach. It's and then you go home. So it's kind of like a two-part deal. And then our form of kind of Christmas would be Dia de los Reyes, which is mostly for children. And on the January 5th and 6th, children will get 2 gifts, and that's kind of our form of Santa Claus, and they'll look under the bed and take whatever gift they have to the school. And then later on in the day, we'll have a meal, and then we'll cut the rosca, and the rosca will have a small child like Jesus in the bread, and whoever, when you're slicing the bread in half, or however many people are doing the rosca, whoever it lands on, so you always hope that it doesn't land on you, because whoever it lands on has to on February 2nd make the food and host, basically, right? And so that is what we have for El Dia de los Reyes, or the Day of the Three Kings, which is the celebration of the Gentiles knowing who Jesus is and whatnot. And then we actually celebrate our town during this time. So I have a small video. I don't know how much time I have, if this is something that...
Go ahead. I think it's interesting.
Okay.
But we have questions, so go ahead. But we'll wait until you're done to ask the questions.
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure. So I'm just gonna show this quick video, which is like, I can cut it down to 1 minute or something. And we're just celebrating our town. We celebrate, we do a traditional dance, we do basketball. We celebrate our tropical location and our tropical food, which consists of mangoes, star fruit, coconut, and just kind of seafood.
Tenemos fácil tiempo de indicar, donde el mar y el estero, en la dulce por la sal, soy un pueblo bananero, soy un hijo del mar. Porque caracheros, floridos al hablar, soy costeño, bañado de soledad, yo te invito a mi pueblo, paraíso terrenal. Yo soy muy honrado y trabajador, recibido a mi pueblo, propio de corazón. Es muy lindo mi pueblo, invitado a él estar. Al que yo lo quiero, como el pueblo del mar. Somos guerreros, costa y mar. Ese es nuestro grito de libertad.
and it kind of just goes on a little bit longer, but it's pretty much the same. And that's it. So, oh,
Well, thank you very much, Michelle. That was very informative. Does anybody have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Going back, actually, I have two, but I'll come to the other one. Um, Earlier, you had mentioned about looking under the bed and taking a gift to school. I got lost on that. What did I miss?
yeah. So on the Dia de los Reyes, it's kind of our celebration of Christmas, and parents put a gift under the children's bed, one or two, and we know it as like, oh, that's our Santa Claus putting in
Uh-huh.
a gift, and then so the kids get all excited. It's really just for the gifts. No parents get, or no older children get any gifts. It's just small children, and then they take it to school and
They
whatnot.
take the gift to school to to show off or to give it to somebody else, or
Yep, to show off.
Show and tell.
it's interesting. Yeah, because my parents used to hide gifts under their bed to make sure we couldn't find them, so it was very different for us. I have one other question. Are there any tourists in your hometown? Because that looks wonderful. Or your parents' hometown, I should say.
Is it a tourist like location? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
No, you would probably have to know someone from the town to even know that it
Okay.
exists.
Okay.
It is starting to get a little bit more popular because like second generation or first generation, I guess, American, which would be considered like me, if I go back and I tell someone about it or I bring my friends and whatnot, then we're technically considered tourist, and then whoever we bring around. And at that point, people start to get more familiarized, but it's really only in the month of December. And traditionally, no, it's not like Acapulco, which is where my dad is from, where it's a very touristy.
Right.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle, and Feliz Navidad.
Gracias.
Let's go to Scandinavia now with Karin Olsen, whose relatives go back to Sweden. Welcome, Karin.
Well, welcome in.
Feliz Navidad, Michelle.
Gracias. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story.
Yes, that was very nice. Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Well, my Swedish traditions come from my father, who was born in Sweden and immigrated to the United States in 1904. He came with his two siblings and his mom, and his dad had already immigrated the year before, so he had established a house, and we settled in Minneapolis. When I was a child, we lived on a small farm in Minnesota, and it was on the outskirts of a small town called Zimmerman. Our Christmas started, I get this all mixed up in my head because it's farm life. My mother was she was half Czechoslovakian and then half German. So my traditions kind of get mixed up. So if I'm swaying from Sweden, just pretend like it's Swedish. So every fall we butchered a hog. And so this was the beginning of this, what I call the Christmas season, because this is when Mom made all the different things out of this hog. We had pickled pig's feet and something called head cheese, and then had all the other parts of the hog fixed. We had made liver sausage and blood sausage, which aren't Swedish, but were part of my Swedish. So then the rest of the preparation for Christmas was making fruit soup. This is like stewed prunes, but it's with dried prunes, dried apricots, dried pears, dried, and then raisins, and then thickened with tapioca and made into this stew, which was very thick and sweet and good. And we used that as breakfast or as a dessert. It was thickened with tapioca, so that's how it got to stay together. Closer to Christmas, the cookie baking started. And my mother made lots and lots of different kinds of cookies. But the one that I relate to mostly for Sweden is the spritz. Okay, this is made with a machine. And these are the little designs of the cookies that are put in the bottom here. You fill this part up with cookie dough and you put it on the cookie sheet like this, and then you use this little thing to press down the cookies, and then you move it and move it and move it. The cookies are very rich, lots of butter, lots of sugar, and you sprinkle sugar on the top, colored sugar on the top, and you make all these different kinds of designs. She also made some sweet pastries and breads, and one was the Swedish tea ring, which was just sweet bread with cinnamon and then put in the shape of a wreath and powdered sugar frosting on top. We also made potato sausage. This is a traditional Swedish item. It's to use raw potatoes, ground pork, a little onion, and whole allspice. You put this through the food grinder, and then you stuff the sausage, these casings. This is our family sausage stuffer. And this is all homemade, been in the family since the 1890s. And this is, you put this casings on this and push them down. And then you put the sausage in here, and then you push the plunger in and put it against your belly and fill up this. This has made hundreds of pounds of sausage.
Now, you were a nurse. Is that something like a hypodermic needle?
It looks like it. Except it's good stuff that comes out of it. Oh dear. It's potato sausage is really very tasty and very good. In Sweden, the Christmas tree was put up on Christmas Eve. In my house as a child, the tree had to be up by the 21st of December because that was my birthday. So we had to put it up before the 21st of December. We forget that Christmas Eve stuff. And then we took it down. In Sweden, they take it down on the 13th of January. And we had to keep it up until the 10th of January because that was one of my sister's birthdays. So that's how that worked in our town, in our family traditions. Okay, Christmas Eve, this was the big day. We started out with a smorgasbord in about 11 o'clock in the morning. And this consisted of pickled herring, pickled pig's feet that had cheese, the regular cheese, lots of different cheeses, smoked herring or whitefish. And this depended on what my brother and father had netted or caught during the fall, and it got smoked. So sometimes it was one kind, sometimes it was another. And we had bread, crisp bread, like rye crisp, wasa bread, and other kinds of breads, and crackers and other goodies on the table too, but those were mostly the Swedish things. Also, about 4 o'clock, smorgasbord would quit, and then we'd have dinner. And dinner was lutefisk, of course. This is dried ling cod, and it's reconstituted with lye and water.
Oh,
And you soak it for several days.
Good, right?
You start, we would do it, Mother did it in the pump house away from the house, where the water for the barn was, and the pump and the milking equipment was in that house. And so it was far away, so it didn't smell up the house. You make this lye mixture, put the fish in it, And then the next day she would come out, throw that out, not the fish, but throw the water out, make a new solution, put the fish back in. Then the next day she would come out and do the same thing. I don't know how many days she did this, but it seemed like forever because the smell is, ooh, yeah. But anyway, by the end, it doesn't smell anymore. It's perfect. And it gets nice and soft and tender and easy and to eat. And it's not this dry log. Oh, I forgot to mention that these logs of this dried fish were stacked outside the grocery store in our town. So you went up and you picked out your fish from the stack outside the door. I always thought that was interesting. Put your fish on the sidewalk. But then the lutefisk is fixed. You boil potatoes. So you put your potatoes down, mash it up, put the lutefisk on top. You pick out the flakiest parts. You don't get these big chunks of this other stuff. Just the flaky parts. Then you have a white sauce over the top of that, melted butter, and sprinkle allspice on it. It's delicious. It's you can find lutefisk at the Edelweiss deli in Portland if you're interested in buying something.
Yes.
It's all ready to go. You don't have to do any of the soaking thing. And every early November we have lutefisk dinner at the North Hall over in Portland, and it's already fixed, and we sit down with all the Scandinavians and have lutefisk. Okay, we also have the potato sausage that we lovingly stuffed with our stuffer, and potato and meatballs. Mother just put allspice in the meatballs. We didn't have the cream sauce. It was just the allspice. So a little bit different. As I mentioned, she was Czechoslovakian and some German. So then we had to do the dishes.
Oh, shucks.
We had all the kids had to go in and do the dishes. So we got the dishes done, sort of. And then we could open our presents. And this is all on Christmas Eve. So very big deal, very big day. Okay, I don't make cookies anymore. I do open my presents on Christmas Day. Occasionally I'll make the potato sausage. It takes 2 people, so I'm not going to do it this year. I have pickled herring all the time in the fall and winter. And I can get the smoked whitefish at New Seasons. So I do have smoked whitefish usually. And let's see what else. The pickled herring, they had cheese. Oh, I could tell you where to buy that. There's a Thai deli in Beaverton, downtown Beaverton, that if you can find the downtown of Beaverton, that sells this head cheese. And it's a little different because they use a little different spices. Now, when I was in Sweden, I had something that I thought what tasted like the head cheese that we made at home. My new traditions are come from my organization called the New Sweden Cultural Heritage Society, which I'm an active member of. And we do lots of different things that I never even heard of before I came to Portland, and have developed some new Swedish traditions. But this is what I remember from my childhood.
Well, thank you very much, Karen. And we do have a good heritage of Scandinavia in our city. Some of the first immigrants to Tualatin were from that area of the world. The Nyberg family and others,
Right.
Saarinens, and names that we all know in Tualatin history.
Right.
Any questions for Karen?
Yeah, I have one quick question as to what Santa Claus or whatever Saint Nicholas looked like.
Well, in Sweden, they call him Nissa Tamta. And
Oh,
he's
okay.
a little elf, and he lives on the farm, takes care of the animals, and causes trouble. And he doesn't like rude people. So if you're rude, you don't get very good care from him. But he brings drops presents at the doorstep of the farms.
Okay.
Sounds
Yeah.
like Krampus.
I was like, what?
Sounds like Krampus, the
Compass?
the guy who beats the kids with a stick because they've been bad or whatever in Europe.
We have one
Yeah,
of
well,
those.
he doesn't like rude people, so he might be, evil. But
In the USA, that would be lumps of coal in the stocking, I think.
yeah, I guess.
Right?
Nobody
Well-
want to go to the Ludfist dinner with me?
Oh, my mother-in-law made it. I had Well, thanks again, Karen.
You're welcome.
Let's move down to South America again here, Central America. And Maria Reyes, one of our city council members, is with us today. So welcome, Maria.
Thank you for having me. So my Christmas will probably be more like Honduran American. Even though I was born in Honduras and my family comes from Honduras, which is Central America. We moved to the US in the early 80s, and we've never celebrated Christmas outside Los Angeles, California. So that's where our Christmas was since 1983, I remember. Basically, we did have our kind of traditions that we brought over from our country with my mom. My mom was a young mom, so we try to do for us, we were more Protestant than we were Catholic. So we're Protestants actually. So it would be a little different from what Michelle brought to the table, because we actually did celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. So it's very, very in memory, or this is, and I'm speaking for my family as how my mom brought it over to us. So it was 2 weeks prior to Christmas Eve, which I thought was Christmas growing up, because it was the day that we celebrated the most. And the 25th was just like resting. But 2 weeks prior, we would kind of start getting ready for, as a Protestant, we did celebrate Thanksgiving. So we thank God. And then after that, we start our whole Christmas thinking of Christ and Jesus. Well, we do a lot of stuff at church. And I remember going to the church like every Sunday, and people are starting preparing. And these are people from all over Central America, Mexico. So we kind of all blended in our Christmas together. So a little bit of here, a little bit of South America, a little bit of the Caribbean, Latin Caribbean, like Cuba. And so all of us putting our Christmas together in Los Angeles, coming from different parts of Latin America. You have little traditions, uniqueness. And so I didn't know much about, we knew Saint Nick for us in my family was more like a symbol of someone being kind. So it's more like an example. So they do talk about Santa Claus, but as a kind man that we show a model, like, because he cared for others, he loved kids, and if you were kind and generous, a symbol of generosity, giving something selflessly. So it was a lot of that, and everyone seemed to hold off if you had any grudges or anything that you did not like about your family, you kind of don't bring it up during Christmas, because it's Christmas. So everybody has to be happy. You hold it off until the new year. After the new year, then you can go back to being upset. But during that time, no one argued, no one fought. We were just happy. And so in our neighborhood in Los Angeles, in the Pico Union area, we all went to the same church. We brought in, prepared all our Christmas traditions. We did a lot of reading of the Bible verses leading up to Christmas, like when the Virgin talks to the angel and all that. I mean, you start all that stuff until it's kind of like the Advent, I think, how we call it. So we all talk about it, and then we have we all participated in like little theaters or little, not theater, but like in little like skits at church, and about the birth of Jesus Christ. And so for us, the meaning of Christmas, and by the way, we literally cleaned the house Our house was spotless during that week leading, like 5 days prior to Christmas. And because Jesus will not come to, this is my boxer craziness, is not going to come to a dirty house. So we were, the Virgin Mary cannot give birth to a dirty house. So we always clean our house. And so these are just things that my grandma used to tell us and my mom. But we all got together in the morning. We on the 24th. I didn't know that, like in Latin America, from where we're from in Honduras, Christmas Eve is also a holiday because it's the day where you prep food. You whoever's gonna host the party in your family. So we were. Some people being in the US, it changed all that because people work on the 24th here in the US. So it was kind of weird that my mom worked on that day and then come home and try to cook, and grandma and everybody trying to get us all together. So that changed a little bit on the tradition because in her town, and we're from big cities in Honduras, so people were off and it was okay to take time off to go and prepare for Christmas. That's okay for your jobs. The jobs will be understanding about that. And so Christmas Eve was, no one worked on the day. It's a holiday, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And so my mom, being here in the US, it's different, things change. So so we would go to church in the morning if we could. If not, then in the evening around 5 or 6, and then everyone will have a big dinner. Everyone from every country will bring their own, kind of like a potluck, but it had to be Christmas theme. But it was very very waiting for Christ to come and being born. He was born on the midnight, so we had to stay awake. You can't go to sleep. Otherwise, you're not going to receive the gift of Christ. So it was very, very religious. So I remember we would stay up all day waiting. We would traditionally have a Christmas tree, and then so we don't hide the gifts. We never hid the gifts. We knew it's mom and dad, or it's a family Christmas. Gifts are interchanging with family. Unlike Michelle, the 6th of January, that's for external, like people that you know. So it's not
Right.
so it's not for, like, on Christmas Eve we did exchange family members gifts. So families, I would give to my sisters give to me, my mom, and then on the 6th it's for like your neighbors or your friends at work, at school. So it's not like, because it's so intimate to us that Christ was, the whole symbolic part. And so we waited all night. We played. We ate late. We ate around 10:30. That was our dinner. It was tamales. We had this traditional. My grandma would make these kind of like pudding, bread pudding. That was a very traditional thing from Honduras. Our tamales are made out of banana leaf, because we come from tropical countries as well. It's either rain or hot. I mean, there's no other thing. So those countries are very tropical. If you go to Costa Rica around this time, it's really nice and sunny. So, but it's all blended in. It's a blended Christmas. From all of our neighbors were doing the exact same thing. They were getting together with their family, probably eating, partying, drinking, kind of like waiting, celebrating, waiting for that moment when Christ was going to be born. And that's when you open your gifts. And it's not opening the gifts as like something you wish. It's more like a symbolic that Christ was a gift to us. So that was the whole symbol. And it was my neighborhood, even though it's in Los Angeles, 99.9% were all Latinos. So we were Latin people from different countries. And so we kind of share our own tradition. And then at midnight, we will open our gifts. We'll go to our neighbors and say, Merry Christmas, and celebrate a big party in our block. And then you stay up, you play your toy. If you get toys, you play, you hang out, and then you can go to sleep after that. You're allowed to. You're allowed to stay up that day. You're allowed to hang out with your cousins, and play video games or play with the toys that you got. And then the kind of like party continues towards like New Year's. And New Year's was a little different. New Year's was more like the adults kind of hang out more. And but we had a tradition in my mom's house. Again, we could not enter the new year with a dirty house, because if you did, then your house was going to be dirty the rest of the year. So I don't know if that was my mom's only thing.
I think it was your mom.
But then I speak to other family members like, yeah, we clean our house too before we enter the new year. So get rid of everything. So those were things that, I mean, it went on for years, and it was just fun. I enjoyed our Christmas in LA. Like I said, I always call it like my Angelino Christmas, because we never went back to Honduras. So we kind of just adopted all Latin Americans, whatever, if that's how you celebrated Christmas, then let's incorporate that into but we did have our common area where we met, and it was a church. And the church had like 500 people, where everyone just kind of did all kinds of different, and we're all Hispanic, so we kind of spoke the same language. And it was funny sometimes when people say, oh, what kind of tamales are those? Or what is that? Oh, that's from Puerto Rico, that's from Cuba, that's from Argentina. So we did have a blended, a true Latin American Christmas. And you learn a lot. But Christmas Eve is our like Christmas, because that's the day you waited for Jesus to be born, and then you exchange gifts among family, and then you, of course, you have January 6th to exchange gifts with external people, and that was weird for some other Latin American individuals, because they didn't celebrate that. They're like, oh, why don't you do it this way? So we kind of just yeah, it's just different. But it's fun learning from other countries, and even right now with Michelle, like how they celebrate the whole town. And we're like, it was for us, because I grew up in Los Angeles, I'm just not like, it was just our building, our apartment complex. And then you go to, or our church, that we all celebrated. So that's how my Christmas was. I thought it was the best Christmas. I mean, we had great time. We never fought. We ate and got merry and happy, and we were all, and it was just, you're allowed to have a little bit of wine too. So it's like, I mean, it's just a little bit of more, very, very traditional, but at the same time, a blended of all these countries come together. And depending where you are going to celebrate Christmas, that's what you kind of adapt to. Growing up now as an adult, obviously things are different. You're more Americanized, so you adopt the whole thing, Santa Claus thing. We still have we still have our gifts under the tree, but we don't tell people like who's giving you what. So it's changed a little bit a blended of American with Santa Claus, but we kind of tell our kids that Santa Claus doesn't exist from early age. And Santa Claus is mom and dad or your relatives. So I think that's been kind of like not that it's bad, but we try to be more realistic. And I remember using Saint Nick, and we always call him Saint Nick, as a symbol of someone to model and be kind, but not like you watch in the movies here. So that was my Christmas forever. And now we kind of just, all my sisters have their own family, so they kind of, between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, we go different places. But it's not as coordinated and follow the tradition. I do remember doing the rosca, which is the Michelle. We went to a Mexican family, and they were having this brown piece of bread, and I remember my mom getting the little baby, and she's biting on it, and she has no idea what that meant, because we don't do that. So she's like, what in the world is this? So she just grabbed it, and I remember she put it to the side, and they were like, who has the baby? I was like, my mom's like, I'm not gonna host a party, because if you had the baby, you will host that party. She's like, I'm not hosting this party. So she just denied it fully, and I'm like, Mom, you had the baby, and she's like, shh. So those are things that we learned as we were growing up with more of other like cultures within Latin America, that if you had if you ate that piece of bread that had the baby inside, then you had to host a party. And my mom's like, I would not host a party. So you learn those things. You learn how to work around it too. You pay somebody else to do it, and then you don't have to do it. So, so there's a lot of little things, but everything leads up to Easter after that. In our culture, then you go into the, the Easter beliefs, and then it starts all over again, kind of like a whole calendar year. But that was my Christmas in Los Angeles. I would say that way. I don't know, it's traditionally to Honduran. There may be a few things, like the food was very traditional to Honduran. And of course, the Protestant side is different from celebrating like Virgin of Guadalupe, because Virgin of Guadalupe is more of a Mexican belief versus our belief. So we didn't have that celebration. So that's just that was our Christmas growing up in LA.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you. Very nice.
Oh, and we got rid of our Christmas tree after the 6th of January. So it was weird for me when I met my American friends that were throwing away their Christmas tree like the day after. We're like, what are you doing? You're supposed to keep it until the 6th of January. We're like, what?
Right.
Needs to be the 3rd of January, right, Karen?
Well, all right. Well, now we're going to move 13th. Okay.
Some saint day.
Any other questions for Maria?
No.
Okay.
I just think it was interesting to hear that it's not
Bojo, just a minute.
all of Central and South America. It's just not generic. There are so many individual traditions within each country, and we'll have to explore that again someday.
Oh yeah, very different. Yeah. And I kind of have I've learned the Mexican because I grew up in LA where the majority of Latinos were from Mexico. But then you learn a lot from what Argentinians and the Chileans learn. Yeah, so you kind of learn a lot from all these other countries when you're in this blended city.
Right.
Like
that's my takeaway.
Well, we had an exchange student from Denmark one year when our kids were in high school, and he taught us that you had to have a tapioca type pudding on Christmas, and in that pudding there was a nut. I think it was an almond. And if you got the almond, you were going to have special luck for the next year or something. So there, each culture seems to have its own little variation of a same theme, maybe. So, well,
yeah, I forgot to mention that we always had the rice pudding with the almond in it, and that was a traditional Christmas.
Yeah. Thanks again, Maria.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
And now we're going to move to the Netherlands. Anke Kundersama is with us, and she's going to talk about her growing up and her tradition in Holland and where they live now in Tualatin. So welcome, Anke.
Well, good to be here. I hope I can do this because I'm kind of nervous. And I quickly have to give my dog a treat because she's whining.
So the dog gets Christmas gift too. That's good.
Yeah. Mr. Bojangles.
He gets a Kong with liverwurst in it.
Oh.
Liverwurst.
Yummy. Anyway, that would keep him busy for just a little bit. But anyway, I did make some notes and I may have to refer to that occasionally. So bear with me. Our Christmas and our celebrations were actually two separate occasions. We had Christmas, but we also celebrated St. Nicholas's birthday, the passing of St. Nicholas, which was on the 6th of December. And so I'll start with the Christmas, which was very much the traditional kind of Christmas. My folks and I, and our three kids, my brothers and myself and my folks, went to church on Christmas Eve to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And other than that, not so much in terms of a religious holiday, because my folks were not really overly religious. But our Christmas tree was quite different from what they have nowadays, because it was not decorated like they do now. It was very simple, but there were no strings of lights on it. And we did have glass ornaments. And other than that, we had real small candles on there, live candles that were lit for just a short while. And there was always a bucket of water nearby and a box of sand. And so, thank goodness, nothing ever caught fire. But it was, yeah, it was kind of dangerous in a way. I don't know that they do it that way anymore. As a matter of fact, I think now people in Holland may combine both the St. Nicholas and Christmas days. But anyway, we did get no elaborate food, and maybe it's because we weren't really all that well off. But one of the special treats underneath the tree was that we got oranges from Israel. And in Holland, of course, is not a tropical climate, so we didn't have all kinds of tropical fruit. So the oranges from Israel were delicious and a very special treat. So anyway, they very juicy, and just that was our treat under the Christmas tree. No presents, but on the eve of St. Nicholas's passing, we did have gifts like St. Nicholas, and in Holland we call him Sinterklaas. And he did look quite different from how our Santa Claus looks now. He was truly a bishop who in Holland arrived by boat, and he was riding a white horse. And he came from Spain, and he had several Moorish helpers. And a Moorish meaning probably from the African continent, or very south part of Spain, that anyway, they were black people. And for quite a long time, it used to be just people from Holland, of course, with St. Nicholas also dressed up. And at the time, people would paint their faces black, which, of course, right now is totally inappropriate. And so they've not done away with St. Nicholas's helpers, but they are truly black people now. So, and I can't vouch for how exactly they celebrated these days, but that's how we had it. Is and my folks would hide presents sometimes, not always the same way, but it wasn't from our parents. It was St. Nicholas brought them, and so St. Nicholas would ride his horse across the rooftops on his white horse, and the black helpers would lower the presents through the chimney. And by the way, we did treat the horse as well, not so much St. Nicholas or elves or whoever, but we left a wooden shoe, or our wooden shoes, with some carrots and a little bit of hay underneath the chimney. So so that the horse had something. No cookies for the horse, though. Other than that, St. Nicholas, of course, knew who had been naughty and nice, and the black helper always had a big burlap sack, and that if you weren't nice, you got put into the burlap sack that he was carrying, and you got taken to Spain. So we were always very good. A little bit, let's see, sometimes I think, from what I remember, is that instead of the presents being hidden in the house or already, my folks probably had one of the neighbors drop off the packages on the front porch or front steps, and would ring the doorbell and then, of course, run off. And so St. Nicholas brought the gifts. And so anyway, a little bit more about St. Nicholas, Sinterklaas in Holland. He was actually a very originally what do you call it, a orphan, because his parents, who were very devout and very rich, passed away or died when he was very young. But because of his upbringing to that point, he always was very much into charity, helped the needy, and so in that way, it was more Christmassy like in terms of, doing good deeds and all that. And he especially took care of poor people, children, and I believe, excuse me, he may be the saint. What do they call it now? The saint for sailors. Anyway, at some point when throughout the years, when he was commemorated, he had become a bishop because of his good deeds and everything. And so I brought have a couple of his examples of what he looked like at the time. And I don't know where I'm holding it up here and whether or not.
That's fine. We can see it.
You
Yeah.
see
There
that?
you go. Mhm.
And here he is talking to the children. And by the way, these are now my Christmas ornaments. There he is with his little helper. And I think I have one here where he's riding and this is one of my my refrigerator. And there we go, I think, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Anyway, I think I believe that maybe Larry mentioned it before, that he had been in Amsterdam where on where his, my dog probably sees a squirrel out there. Anyway, where his helpers would throw what they call paper noten, and they were just a cookie-like thing made of flour, sugar, aniseed, cinnamon, and cloves, and they were just very small little goodies. But other than that, our tradition was not really so much in food. So like I said earlier, those oranges from Israel were a real treat. And I think my mom usually did cook, and not a turkey, but I believe either duck or goose.
Mhm.
And sometimes I think small fowl. Is it fowl?
Yeah.
Like Cornish game hen or something like that, but nothing really elaborate like the previous ladies were telling us about. But I think that's about, as far as I can go. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Anka. That's very interesting. She mentioned our time we visited in Amsterdam about this time of the year. And we were in a restaurant when all of a sudden the door flew open, the front door, and in ran a black fellow dressed like a helper of Santa Claus, and threw candy everywhere in the restaurant, and then ran out very quickly. I mean, it shocked everybody because we were all American tourists. So.
Yep,
anyway,
that's exactly. Yeah,
anybody have
exactly.
questions for Anka?
Oh, and by the way, what is it? This is where I grew up, which is in the very northern part of Holland, Friesland. And of course, I don't know, but my regular Dutch flag is red, white, and blue.
Yay.
Just like the American flag. Anyway, that's all I can share, I think. I mean,
well, thanks. Like I said, thank you very much. And I can remember in my growing up years in the South, my family always put an orange in our stocking.
Really?
I don't know that it was from Israel, but at least it was very, I wanted more than a fruit and a bunch of pecans and other stuff, which was mostly what was in the stocking. But anyway, orange was always in that stocking.
They did that in
Yeah.
Indiana too, by the way, but okay.
Yeah.
So
No,
now,
yeah.
speaking of Israel, now we're going to move to Israel. And I'm going to put on my mask because my friend Zev is here with us from Israel. Zev lives over here in Tualatin. And we're going to hear something of another kind of celebration at the time of the year. But in this case, Zev is Jewish, and it's called Hanukkah. And
Right.
obviously, we're not celebrating Jesus' birth. But so, Zev, tell us what Hanukkah is all about and some of the things you did growing up and foods you had and so forth.
I will start with this, that Hanukkah is, the symbol of Hanukkah is a candle light, which every day, Hanukkah is 8 days, and there is 8 candles with a server. The server lights the candles each day one more till 8 days. The reason is that at the old days, the Romans destroyed the Holy Temple of the Jews, and the people that came there, they called Maccabees, and they tried to light the candles in the what remained the Holy Temple, and they couldn't find. They didn't use the usual candles like today. They used oil, and they were looking for oil all over, and they found a small candle, a can with oil. And unfortunate or fortunate, the can of oil remains for 8 days. This is why the Jews celebrate the Hanukkah of 8 days to remember this miracle that happens there.
What time of the year is Hanukkah normally celebrated?
It
that's
depends. It depends because in the Jewish calendar, there is 1 month that every few years is doubled
See.
and is shifted the day of, because the Hanukkah is going according the Jewish calendar, and but is usually is close to Christmas, or there is no Thanksgiving anywhere in the world except America, but Christmas is the closest day. Now, the food that we are celebrating is donuts. Is religious that donuts is getting, sweet. And there is a game, I don't know, I brought you this.
Oh, it's in the other room.
That people are playing there.
Dirndl.
But
The top that spins.
yeah, that spins.
Yeah. Dreidel.
And yeah.
It just came to me. Dreidel. Yeah.
And this is the things on this holiday. But Hanukkah is usually a celebration. Is not anything religious wise of doing any prayers or something like this specially. But there is a song of Hanukkah, and this is the the symbol of this, although is for staying, you know, but only half of it is the thing that is till here is usual spindle, and where it's falling, you win something on it.
It sounds like gambling.
Yes. You can.
It's a music box also here on this one. I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear that?
Oh yeah.
But it's not spinning.
It's kind of like stop the music or musical chairs we used to play, I guess.
These two things, my daughter, Yaden, she's the eldest one, and she found it and got it for me.
When did you come from Israel, Zin?
No, I came from, I went to Israel, to Nigeria in '83. And to America, I came on 2004. But I was in America several times before. I was wounded in one of the wars in Israel, and then the Ministry of Defense sent me for surgeries here in America, and I was lodged in a Jewish house in San Francisco, Albany, and after some time, after the surgeries, the doctor said that I have to stay in America for 6 months to be treated. And I came back to this owner of the house, and I told him, "What am I going to do here? 6 months, I'll get crazy." He said, "No, I will take you to my boss." Finally, his boss was George Schultz, and
Wow.
the other one was Caspar Weinberger.
No way.
Yes, and George Schultz interviewed me, and he said, "Okay, bring all your documents and showing that you are electrical engineer, and I will see what to do with you." I said, "But I don't have papers to work in America." He said, "Don't worry." Okay, after presenting to him the documents, he said, "Let me do what I have to do." And by the way, both of them were Jews. And after 1 month, I was called back to the office, and he presented to me the green card, and he said, "Now you can work." This, instead to get it now after a few years, he presented to me after 1 month. And he was very involved in the government. So I worked for them for 2 years, and then I went back to Israel. Then I participated in another war, and then I said, enough is enough. And I got the opportunity to go to Nigeria to manage some company there. And I stayed there for 22 years. And from there, when my daughters became to the age that they have to go to high school, one of them, I said no more. And hence I have the green card, which I kept to renew every 5 years. I brought her here. And since then we are here.
That's quite a story of immigration
Yeah.
today. So
Not today. Today is not
today.
possible.
Not
Today with Trump is not possible. Even my wife, she's a Nigerian, and she was coming every year, and she got a visa and everything. It was okay, but after Trump, she could not get a visa.
Yeah.
So it's few years that she didn't come here.
So do you still have donuts for during Hanukkah?
Yes, but we are not. I'm not a donut person. So
Yeah. So anybody have questions for Zev? Zev still lives here in Tualatin and has relatives still in Israel, right?
yeah, I have a sister in Israel.
Okay, so that's another kind of celebration, like we said. Not Christmas, but still very important time of the year for our Jewish friends and neighbors here in Tualatin. And
Yes, but because of my children, I'm going to church.
And he's going to a Protestant church now here in town. So,
and not only this, the Jewish tradition, the religious and the Christian religious is very close. Both of the religious believe in God, and they just have different messages. Or is the Jewish doesn't have messengers? They are praying straight to God, and the Christians are praying to God through Jesus.
right. Well, now we've traveled around the world this morning, and we know that around Tualatin today and this season, people will be celebrating the holidays in various ways. So I think this has been quite a whirlwind tour of cultures that we have right here and around the world still happening today. Does anyone have any questions further of anybody else today or something you've thought of?
By the way, to the Dutch lady.
Anki, hold on just a second. Zev, Anki has her microphone off. So Anki, if you could turn, there it is. Okay.
There we go. You muted me.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on just a second. I think Zev wants to say something to you.
Yeah.
The company that I worked in Nigeria has a main office in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And I was there for 6 months to arrange all the things for the company in Africa. And I was lodged in Van Wouwstraat 88.
You can say it good. All right. Neat. But yeah, actually, my dad was born in Amsterdam, even though he was Frisian, but his dad was stationed in Amsterdam during World War I. So, and by the way, he passed away. My grandfather, in other words, passed away in that Spanish flu epidemic. So,
wow.
Anyway, very interesting.
Dutch people are very nice people.
Well, thank you.
I like to stay there very much.
Well, good. And I haven't been back much at all since my parents passed away. And I only have one brother still there. And, it kind of, you're not as close as you once were, I guess. But, and I've become an American citizen in the meantime. So.
Well, we're all connected. We're all connected wherever we are.
Small world.
Right here in Tualatin, we're connected in ways that we sometimes never realize. So I hope today, Ross, that we've helped people of our city understand some of our heritage right here in town and our history and how this particular time of the year draws everyone together, no matter what their faith or background. We're all one people and we're all in this together.
Amen.
And now we all look into the future for 2021. Even some will be celebrating on certain early days of January the rest of their season. but now we can all look forward to a better year ahead.
especially in the 28th of January.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you again, Ross, for setting this up.
That's okay. We're going to be sending this out to membership before the weekend is over. So
And-
look for it and enjoy again. Thank you all so
Yep.
much.
Good Yule.
All right.
Good Yule. Feliz
Yeah.
Navidad.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right.
Happy
Merry Christmas.
Hanukkah.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.